Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. Welcome to this Pro Copywriters webinar. Yeah, we've had an amazing response to this session. I think there's a lot of people interested in hearing from Henneke. So thank you for your interest, and just a couple of things to point out before we get started. We'll be taking some questions throughout the session. So yeah, if you have any questions, anything you'd like to know, anything you kind of want to explore further, do type those questions into the question panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Tony Blum, yes, there will be a replay. Well, by replay, I mean a video, which we'll send out to everyone who's registered, and we'll send that out some point tomorrow. We'll also send you a link to download Henneke's slides, and the link for those slides is also included on one of Henneke's slides. So you'll be able to find that today and download the slides if you're interested. Yeah, so I think that's everything. And yeah, so if you're not, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Henneke, but if you're not, she's a fantastic copywriting coach and trainer, and she has some online courses if you're interested. I'm Leif Kendall. I'm the director of ProCopywriters. I'm also a freelance copywriter myself. ProCopywriters is an association for all kinds of commercial writers. We're here to bring people together and share best practices and knowledge and advice. And yeah, so that's us. And so I'll hand over to Henneke.
Yeah, for that intro, Leif, and really excited to be here and see how many people are attending. So this presentation is actually about a little more than just 7 copywriting techniques. What I often hear from people is, yeah, I'm reading these blog posts, but I just feel I don't really know how I'm actually going to improve my copywriting skills. So I want to explain a system, how you can yourself improve your copywriting skill. And that starts with understanding how deliberate practice works, and then the foundation of the 7 copywriting techniques. And I'll give some suggestions on how to plan your copywriting practice too. And this is very much an interactive session, and we'll take questions during the presentation. So at any time, just feel free to pop a question in the comment box, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So let's start with deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is about understanding copywriting techniques, and then you may read about it and read an explanation, and you focus just on one technique at a time. I think one of the things that is difficult with copywriting books, that there's always so much to take in, and we read it, and at the end of it, actually, we don't really implement anything of it. So instead of taking in a lot of information, we focus just on one technique, and then we go and see how people implement this in practice. So we look at other copywriters, we look at copy, and we see how they how other copywriters have actually used the technique, like features and benefits, or overcoming objections, or writing calls to action. And I'll show you some examples of this later in the presentation. And then the next one is, of course, practice the technique yourself. And again, you focus just on one technique rather than the whole thing, because if you try to do everything at the same time, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So you take one technique at a time. And then usually the most difficult part is the actual evaluation. So you can do this yourself by comparing what you've done to the examples that you studied before, and see what is the difference. Is there a similar balance in features and benefits, for instance, or where in the copy did they overcome objections, and how have you done that in your copy? Of course, this one is the most difficult one, and you might also want to team up with a copywriting friend or hire a coach and get feedback, because that is often the quickest way to improve your writing. But you can also do it yourself just by comparing. So let's look at the 7 different, and the first one is features and benefits. Features are aspects of a product. So for a fisherman's hook, it would maybe the material or the length of the wire or the shape of the lure or something like that. And the benefits are actually how it changes your life. So is it easier to catch the fish, or can you catch tastier fish, or maybe you can impress your neighbors or your fellow fishermen with the most amazing state-of-the-art fisherman's hook. And this is really important, understanding this difference, and I still see this going quite wrong even for experienced copywriters. The reason it is important is that when we sell, we use benefits. This is emotion. We sell on emotion. People don't buy something because of the features. They buy it because the emotion, because the product has an emotional appeal to them, and that is what the benefits do. And then what the features do is they simply help justify a purchase. So they really give substance to the writing, but it's not the initial reason why people actually buy a product. It's always about the emotion first, and then the rational arguments next. So the two mistakes I see people make is either they get this balance wrong, they have lots of features and no benefits, and that means there's no emotional appeal, or they focus too much on the benefits, but there's no features, and in that case there's just no substance, and it feels really wishy-washy and it lacks credibility. And the other benefit and the other mistake is that sometimes people miss the true benefits, and I'll give an example of this. This is from sales copy from Purple Mattress. And what they write is the Purple Smart Comfort Grid, and that is a feature. And this grid effortlessly isolates motion. That is a benefit, but it is sometimes called an advantage because it is still very product focused. It's not really something what people are looking for. You know, you've never heard somebody say to you, oh, I'm looking to a mattress that isolates motion. That is just a bit weird. So you have to go one step further and list the true benefits so you don't feel your partner, posterity, or pets when they wiggle about. So the way you get to these true benefits is by asking the so what question. So you have this smart comfort grid. So what? Why does that matter? Well, it isolates motion. You can ask again, so what? Why does that matter? And then you get the real benefits, so you don't feel your partner, posterity, or pets when they wiggle about. And you can actually ask another question, so what? And then you'll get, oh, so you can sleep better. You're not woken up by your friends. But you don't always have to mention them all. Some of them are implicit, like it's quite clear if you don't feel your partner and your pets that you're sleeping well. So you don't need to insult your readers by spelling everything out, but you do want to make sure that these features about better sleep and waking up, feeling fit and energetic are somewhere woven into the copy. So it's really about getting to the true benefits and having this good balance between features and benefits. And if you want to practice this, then one good way to do it is to start with going to a website, maybe Apple or something, and just look at the copy and just think about all the, look at what are the features and what are the benefits and how are they all woven into the text together. Technique is to prove your claims. So it's one thing to say that you have a feature and this is what it will do for you, but the web is full of spammers and hackers, as you know. So it is important to prove your claims, and this is actually quite often missing on websites. One simple way to testimonials, and this works especially well for courses or for services. And this is a testimonial on I will teach you to be rich, and it's a course about how to talk to anybody. And it starts like this: I used your material and my interviewing presence improved significantly. Everything was different. My posture was better, my eye contact, I responded less robotically, I had great questions ready, and I knew how to shape my responses based on what I know they need. And as you can see, these are all real facts. It doesn't simply say my presence improved, but it really explains exactly what in their presence during the interview improved. And that makes it also more credible. And then it goes on to explain what the result was. The reaction is incredible. Next thing I know, I am sitting in a room full of interviewers who are literally arguing over who gets to hire me. And this is a real powerful testimonial, especially this last sentence as well, because you can really picture this in your mind and see this room full of interviewers arguing about who to hire. So this is a really great way to write a testimonial. Usually you actually get 3 parts. Here you have only the middle part explaining what they have learned. And then the third part, what was the result? Quite often you'll see a first part explaining what the situation was before somebody took a course, or before they hired you for a service. So in this case, it could be somebody maybe that was struggling to get a job and felt unsure during the interview, so it was not going well at all. And that's why they took this course, and see what happened then. So it's always about a transformation, you know. It's about the situation before, the problem people had, and then how a service or a product or a course actually transforms people's lives and how it makes them better. And feel free to pop in any questions if you have. Are there any questions so far, Liv?
We don't have any questions so far, but yes, if anyone has any questions, now's a great time to pop them in. So Henneke, I think one thing I thought was really interesting is, you know, I've been thinking about features and benefits for years, more than a decade, since I started copywriting, but I've never thought of them as, you know, benefits being about being an emotional, having an emotional connection, and the features being more rational. And, you know, it makes complete sense, but I'd never thought about it in those terms. And it's really interesting just to think, yeah, it's it's these little details that, yeah, kind of make you stop and think again.
Yeah, I think the emotion is really important, because it really, when you think about benefits as emotional, it becomes easier to go the next step, you know, and think really, okay, what is the difference that this product makes to people's life, and not get stuck in this advantage mode that is still quite product related, you know, like it isolates motion. Yeah, so what? And you see that happening sometimes with copy, that it gets stuck too close to the product and not really explains emotionally what it does for the customer. So yeah, yeah, it's important. I mean, of course, there are, you know, commodities where that isn't too important. But if you're writing, yeah, about a service or a premium product or anything that is aspirational, there's always emotion involved.
Yeah. Okay. So we've had quite a few questions come through. So let me find a couple to choose from. Let's see. So Dave Williams wonders whether using benefits and features, is that the same if you're writing for B2B as much as B2C, or are there any differences, do you think?
There's not really much difference. If you write for business to business, you're still writing to people. The complication is often with business to business that there are more people involved in the purchasing process. So you have to really think about the benefits for each of them. I once wrote copy for a client, and their products needed to get the buy-in from human resources and from customer service and from purchasing. And each of them had actually was looking for different benefits. So we decided to have different sections on the selling page for each of these people to explain what it did for them. So yeah, the principle remains the same.
Okay, excellent. And let's see, we had a good question. Let's see, there's quite a few coming in. The questions panel keeps moving around. So I'm not sure who asked the question, but someone was wondering whether you would lead with the kind of the emotional benefits, the 4 features.
Yeah, it's usually when you have a product description or a longer service page, you start with the key benefits and explaining how the product actually transforms people's lives. So you start really high level. And then after that, you go into the detail of all the specific features and what they do in terms of benefits. But yes, you usually start with the emotion.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. And so someone else who asked about the video, yes, that there will be a video sent out tomorrow of this session. Cool, I think that we've got loads of other questions, but I think we should probably carry on, and then we can always double back if we have time at the end. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's great that everybody's so involved. I love that. So the next copywriting technique is a very important one, and it's probably the one that I see beginning copywriters go wrong with most often, and that's about being specific. And what we talk about then is using really concrete details so that the reader, your prospect, can actually imagine what your product would do for them, or what your service would mean for them, or how it would be to hire you and work with you. Often copy remains just a little abstract and superficial, and it is more difficult for people to imagine. And the other benefit of being specific is also that it creates internal proof. Testimonials or maybe test results are kind of external proof, and being specific about your service or your product is internal proof. So together, it's really powerful to have both testimonials or test results and also the specificity. So often on service pages, which are often far too short to be persuasive. So I like this example, and it is from Case Study Buddy. And it's about writing case studies. And on the page, they have described every step of their process. So I've just taken 2 of those steps here. So step number 4 is research and interview. We'll get your side of the story, then interview your client in 30 minutes or less. And you'll receive a recording and a transcript of the call. And then number 5, case study writing. You'll see the first draft within 10 days. We'll manage revisions from both you and your client. So this is quite simple, but it really makes it clear to me how this process works and how they will work with both you as a customer, but also with your client to get a real persuasive case study. What I also like is that I used numbers here. Numbers are great to use in your copy, especially if you write them as digits, because digits, eye tracking studies have shown that people really fixate on digits, so it attracts attention, makes people read these parts, and digits really indicate facts. So that's a good way to establish credibility as well. So it's really important to be specific and to describe in detail what you're doing and how the process works. And of course, there's people who scan or skim read your page. So for those people, you just have the subhead so they can quickly get a feel for how it's what you'll do without reading the details. But if it works well, then those people get interested, and then they will read all this detail about what you can do for them. So the next copywriting technique is conquering objections. You know how this works in a real life situation. If you're a salesman and you meet a prospect and you start talking about how fantastic your product is, there will always be questions come up of people saying, but I'm not sure whether this would work. Oh no, I'm not sure whether I could actually do this. This wouldn't work here, or maybe it's a bit too pricey or whatever. You know, in a face-to-face situation that's how it will go. And writing sales copy is not really that much different from such a face-to-face situation. While people are reading your copy, they also have these objections popping into their mind. And when these objections pop into their mind, you want to address them in your copy too. So for instance, if you have like a content marketing course, there might be people who think, oh, it's too late to get into content marketing now because I won't be able to get a blog audience anymore. So this is such a big objection that gets in the way of your sales copy that you really have to address that head on quite early in your copy. Otherwise, people will keep thinking about this. Yeah, this sounds interesting, but it won't work because it's too late. And maybe on your course page next, you have a list of what will people learn and how it will change their marketing. And they think, oh, this is maybe quite a lot in this course. So again, exactly when that question comes up in their minds, you address it in their copy, in your copy. So never really ignore these objections. Really read your copy as if you're a customer and think about really, what is he thinking about it? What question pops in his mind? What objection is popping up in his mind? And then immediately counteract on it so that you can take it away. From a tool to keep your email list clean, and it's from AppSumo. And the objection is most verification tools charge crazy prices while missing the noise and flagging false positive. So it actually really states what the objection is. And then in the next sentence just deals with it with a proven track record of over 98% accuracy. Again, really specific, nice number. Clear out, make sure your emails actually reach customers and avoid bouncing. So whatever objections your readers may have, you want to deal with it in the copy exactly when it comes up, because otherwise they won't press that buy button, and that's really important. Shall I keep going, Lee, or?
Yeah, or we could take questions. What do you think?
Yeah,
Would you like
let's
to take
do a question.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah,
So if
we
anyone,
have time, don't we?
yeah, I think we do. And there's actually the point you made about using digits, which I thought was really interesting, because I think as copywriters, if you're writing for websites, one of the things we're always trying to do is how can we catch somebody's eye? You know, how can we make them stop and look at something? And you know, that seems really obvious, but and this is a point that Julie Martin has made with one of her questions, that a lot of brand style guides insist that you spell out words under 10. And so you're kind of losing that potential benefit of, you know, having the digits which kind of stand out. Yeah, so that's really interesting.
I also an article on my website about using numbers in writing, and I refer to an actual eye tracking study of the Nielsen Norman Group, who did eye tracking, and I actually found that it is true that people fixate on it. So I would really argue with client about it and argue about the style guide, if possible, and forward that link to people to say, look, it is recommended to use digits as much as possible. I use digits for 3 and higher.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, it's also really, really important in headlines for social media. Because it stands out, and I still see people writing like 5 reasons to or 7 copywriting techniques, but then use the word, and that is such a missed opportunity because it won't stand out. I mean, it's not for nothing that list posts are so popular.
No, absolutely, and it seems obvious, but it is a kind of a legacy of a lot of these style guides, which and many of them come from newspapers. So I'm not quite sure why so many brands, just kind of automatically adopt a lot of these rules. But let's see. Actually, Julie Martin has another good question going back to the using benefits and features, and she's asking how she might convince people that that's the right way to talk about products and services, because Julie works with lots of engineers and they really like focusing on the detail and the kind of the dry information about their products. How might Julie convince them to lead with something a bit more emotional?
Yeah, it's really about making them realize who they are targeting. If they sell to engineers, then it is fine to use jargon, and you can probably focus a little bit more on the features because the benefits are clear to them. But if you target a non-engineering public, then you really have to explain to them what each of these features means to them and what difference it makes. So it's really about I like doing workshops with clients, or I used to, because I don't really do client work anymore right now. But in a workshop, you can create an ideal reader profile together and really start talking about what the people are looking for. And when you talk about what people are looking for, then you immediately go to benefits rather than features. So it's really, to me, it's about getting into who is the buyer, who is the prospect, who is the client, and what are they looking for.
Yeah, and I wonder if sometimes there's additional research required, because I think that's I think a lot of what we think we know about our customers are really assumptions that we've made or that the company has kind of built up over time. A few people are asking about the link to that eye tracking study. So maybe that's something we can send out in the email tomorrow with the video as well, because lots of interest in that.
Definitely. Yeah, I can look that up. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. Back to you.
Yeah, so the call to action is really the decision moment where the reader confirms they want what you offer because they like the idea how your product or how your service will transform their lives. And what's really important here is to be clear, to make it as easy as possible to take that action, and to also remind people of the value why they actually want to take that action. So here this is from Amy Porterfield, and this is for a free opt-in bonus, 20 smart strategies to rapidly grow your email list. And the call to action is give it to me. Most people would just do the rather boringly download now, but that sounds quite naff, I think. I really like it, give it to me. And it's also good to know that when you write the button copy, people really think from their own perspective. So it is me or my rather than you or your. I often see download your report, but in A/B test, almost always download my report or get my quote or schedule my call works better than you, because people are thinking, yes, this is what I want. But if you have a more complicated product or a service, then action isn't it. You have to nudge people to actually click that button. You have to overcome what they call buyer inertia. Doing nothing is always easier than taking action. And especially if people have to open their wallet and pay some money, then they will think, no, maybe another time. So if possible, it really works well to maybe create some exclusivity. So you limit the number of places available, or you do a short-term promotion. So that really pushes people to make up their mind and to decide now rather than next week or next month or next year whether to buy or not. But that's not always possible. And if that's the case, you just want to remind people why they want to buy and summarize the offer and take away any potential friction to buying. So here's a nice, this is sweat block. So these are wipes, so you sweat less. And there's at the end of the page, there is a nice image of what you get. It's up to 8 weeks supply, is clear as well. And there's a nice 5,000 plus reviews, 4.5 stars, so excellent. So this instantly builds a lot of credibility. And then here you have some of the key objections that are taking away for reassurance. I mean, it's done higher up the page as well, but here's just a quick reminder that it's safe to use, that it's FDA compliant, that's made in the USA, and that it's better than many other clinical antiperspirants. Then the next thing they do is very important, the 30-day money-back guarantee, because this lowers the risk. You know, you can try, and if it doesn't work, you can send it back. And this is another way to reduce friction, to say the shipping is free, so there's no extra cost being added on. And then on the button, you see very nicely here, control your sweat, as a reminder of why you actually would want this product. And this is good to study as well, because I see people missing this a lot. Look at some good websites and see how they actually sum up the offer at the end. On courses, for instance, you often see this is for you, to really make people think, yes, this is the course I want. And they summarize again for who it is and what the benefit of the course is. So that is really good to have a look at too. And the last copywriting technique I wanted to discuss is to really nurture an interest in your prospects and buyers. Because good copy isn't really written, good copy is assembled, and it's assembled from what our prospects and clients are telling us, or what they're writing us, or what they say in testimonials. And this is the point that Lief made earlier excellently as well. Often we need to do a little bit of research to really know what it is people are looking after. So when I, for instance, first launched my first copywriting course, I really thought it was mostly about learning how to write copy so that you can sell more. But what I found when I asked why they were signing up to the course is that confidence was a really big thing as well. So people said, I have a problem that I guess affects most new writers, and that's confidence. And I've lacked confidence with writing for quite some time. And I want to become more confident with the sales and marketing of my business. And I had a lot of these comments, and also in testimonials, people were saying, oh, the course made me a lot more confident that I can write my own copy and actually persuade people to hire me. So knowing that, I then used that word in, I mean, this was an email launch series. This actual product doesn't exist anymore, but I used it in one of the 7 emails, even in the header, because I felt it was so important. Want to feel confident about your writing, just to really connect with this emotional benefit that people were looking for. Course page, I would have one of the key aims of the course. It helps you to become a confident business writer. So it's really important to want to know your customers, to really understand what emotional benefits they're looking for, and then also to use their words into your writing, because that once they feel that you understand their problems and their fears and their frustrations, then it's more likely that they actually have confidence that you will provide the right solution for them too. So those were the 7 copywriting techniques. Balance your features and benefits. And the word balance is important here. It doesn't always have to be one-on-one. I mean, sometimes you have a benefit, a feature, and a benefit again, or you have a couple of features with one benefit, or one feature with a couple of benefits. But there has to be throughout the copy a reasonable balance to have that, both the emotional appeal, but also the substance and the justification for the claims you make about the product. So then you prove your claims, you be as specific as possible, you think about what objections or questions people may raise, and you take away those objections in your copy. You have a clear and simple call to action, and you nudge people to actually press that button to buy, or to book a call, or to send an inquiry, or to ask for a quote. And instead of writing all your copy, steal it as much as possible from your audience. So if you want to improve your copywriting practice, the way you can do it is, firstly, you reacquaint yourself with one technique. You remind yourself, okay, what is features and benefits really about again? Or what is overcoming objections really about? Then you study how other people implement this technique. So you can look at copy and just underline all the features and all the benefits, or you can look at the objections and actually how they overcome it. And then the 3rd step would be practice yourself, and the 4th step is evaluate. So you can do this quite easily in a weekly schedule. You know, on day 1 you read a blog post or a chapter in a book. On day 2 you study how 1 or 2 websites, or you might actually do that on day 2 and day 3. And the next day you practice, and then the last day you evaluate. Just wanted to let you know that you can get the slides of this presentation, plus also some handpicked articles on copywriting on this link, enchantingmarketing.com/webinar.
Wonderful, thank you, Henneke.
So we still have quite some time.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of questions. So
great. I mean, that was it. Yeah. That's what it is about, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's wonderful. So thank you everyone who's popped a question in there. I'm just going to try and pick out a few. I don't think we'll have a chance to get to all of them, but we'll do our best. Let's see. So Ishara Naotana asks, do you have any tips and tricks to understand your audience better?
Yeah, I think I really like talking to people, you know. Set up, if you have some clients already, set up some Skype calls and talk to them, and find out what's frustrating them, what's irritating them, what are they fearful of, what are they trying to achieve, and what are their objections to actually, I mean, it depends a bit what it is, their objections to hiring someone if you're a service provider, or an objection to buying a product if you're selling products, and really ask them what questions they would have about it. So all this input, about features and benefits and objections, that can all come from interviewing people. Or you can do a survey and ask similar questions.
That's a good idea because I suppose with the survey, if you're working for a client or if it's for your own business, and maybe you're wary about contacting your customers and taking up their time, you could put together a simple questionnaire. It could all be done virtually and just send that by email, and that could be a really good way of capturing their kind of sentiment, their priorities, the things they really like about your company.
Yeah, I think it's easier if you write for your own business because you interact already with your clients in some way anyway, and you can ask questions at any time. You don't have to do it all in one go, but you can keep your eyes and ears open and just in my courses I always ask people when we start, why did you join this course? Bang. What are the benefits they're looking for? And then at the end I get some testimonials, so I get a whole story about what they were struggling with, what they learned, and how it changed their way of writing. So you can get information from different sources. Even forums can be quite useful too.
Yeah, and that's definitely a potential gold mine, isn't it? Like looking at kind of online stores of all varieties, and also forums, and just seeing what kind of comments people have left for kind of other products and services.
And if you sell products, reviews are great too, because if you look at competitive reviews, then you can see why people gave low star ratings, what the problems were. So that these are things you have to make clear that your product doesn't have that kind of problem, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, and we may have kind of answered this, but Natalie Weber is asking, what would you do if you're writing copy for a new business and you don't have reviews, testimonials, customers, nothing? How would you approach that as a copywriter?
Yeah, so usually there are already competitors in the market, so you can look at what kind of comments or reviews there are for competitors. I mean, sometimes you can get good insight from your customer too, why did they develop the product? What kind of research have they done? What sort of gap did they see in the market? I mean, if they are a good marketing outfit, there should be some information available that explains why this new product is coming to the market. I mean, they haven't developed it for nothing.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, so if anyone else has any other questions, please type them in. Let's see, we've got another one from Lorraine Forrest Turner asking if there's a good place to find examples to study these techniques.
Yeah, some of the ones I mentioned here are all good to study. So if you want to look at testimonials, psychotactics is good, and I will teach you to be rich. If you want to study features and benefits, I've learned a lot from studying Apple. If you search for copywriting examples, I have a list of 23 different websites that I think are good. A blog post about that. If you just search for copywriting examples, you should come across that. I mean, usually the ones that are, it's also good to study ones that aren't good, You also learn from other people's mistakes when you see like, oh, actually, this website only has features and I could write it better by adding a few benefits. If you know of people who A/B test their copy, those are usually good ones to look for. And you'll find lots of case studies about copywriting too on copywriting blogs. So look them for the actual page that people refer to and see how it was all written.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think another copywriter you might want to look at is Joanna Wiebe, and that's Wiebe, and because she does a lot of A/B testing and looking at what copy converts more, and does a lot of quite detailed posts looking at, you know, why one page is more effective than another. So yes, I think her blog is a good place to look as well.
Definitely, especially if you're in SaaS. Yeah, software as a service. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Let's see. Calvin Jones has asked, how would you deal with someone at the client's organization who kind of sees himself as a bit of a writer and, you know, wants to make some tweaks to your copy, and in doing so ruins it?
Yeah, this is, I have never really figured this out. To be honest, I find that really, I mean, I used to work with mainly small businesses. So if they wanted to change the copy, I might make some comments about it, but I didn't want to argue about it. So I would say it's their copy. How do you deal with it, Lee?
I have like a suite of tricks for dealing with this, but ultimately there does come a point where you have to let go because you don't have the final say, and I think that is somewhat it's kind of liberating when you just accept that you can't force the client to do what you want. I also think it's helpful to pick your battles. So if someone's making, say, 5 changes to a page, I would pick the one that's the worst and kind of try and push back against that one and consider the ones I can kind of let go. So yeah, so kind of pick your battles carefully. You know, it can be helpful to back up your claims with evidence. You know, so if the client is making a change, which is, you know, maybe to remove some of the benefits, then you might talk about how, you know, you're losing some of that emotional punch. And yeah, just to try and ground your claims or concerns in some evidence. And yeah, maybe if you can link to an eye tracking survey or something like that, that it's not just your opinion. It's a kind of, you know, a known fact. Yeah, and then just know when to let go and walk away. Yeah, cool. So let me
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. We've got quite a few other questions. I'm just going to have a look through. Let me see. So, see, Lubosi is asking if there are any emotional words that are good to use in copy. I don't know if there's any kind of lists or suggestions you might have.
Yeah, I mean, emotional words is using the words that your audience is using is usually a good starting point, because they, if you get them to describe how they are feeling about the problem they're having and how they would feel if you could solve that problem, then you immediately connect with them on an emotional level. I mean, there's many lists of power words online that can be good to use, but you have to be careful really not to overdo it. Some of the strongest words to use are the word you. So making sure that your copy is focused on the reader rather than too much on the company. So less of we and me and more of you. Also, the word because is nice to use a couple of times. There's this famous Xerox copying experiment when people try to jump the queue, and when they asked to whether they could go first, then they got quite a low positive response. But when people asked, can I make some copies first because I need to make some copies? Just, even a nonsensical reason, it's a non-reason really, then actually they were let go first, allowed to jump the queue quite often. So that's a good word to use a couple of times. The word imagine is a useful one to think about as well, because either at the start or at the end of your copy, to really let people imagine what it would be to get that product, or to have learned what they are learning in your course, or have what you'll get the service that they're looking to buy. And proven or guaranteed are often good in terms of reassurance too. So yeah, there's lots of different words that are good to use. But yeah, look for search for power words. There's also an article on my website about that.
Fantastic. Yeah, I really like because, and I'm familiar with that study. And I think when people see the word because, even if it almost doesn't matter what follows that, what the actual reason you're providing, when people see because, they feel like a justification is provided, almost regardless of whether it actually is provided, which is nuts, but yeah, it seems to be true. Let's see, Andrew Green has a fairly evil question for you. He says, how would you make a boring product exciting? For example, a black sock selling for £1.49. How would you approach that?
I mean, I think sometimes, things are just what they are. I mean, for £1.49, people don't expect really fun copy, unless there is a reason to make it fun, but sometimes just explaining what it is enough. It is a black sock. What is it made for? What is the size? Yeah, where is it made? Is it made in a sweatshop? Or is there anything ethical or unethical? So I don't think we always need to make everything exciting. Sometimes it is just what it is.
Yeah, and I wonder if if you try and make something exciting when it's clearly not, I think maybe you can lose trust, because it's obvious that you're just kind of hyping something, and that it's all a bit empty. So although Natalie Weber suggests that using humor for kind of more boring products or dull descriptions can be helpful, at least you're kind of entertaining somebody.
Yeah, so that is true, but it really depends on the brand as well. I mean, if not every brand is not every brand voice is humoristic. So yeah, no, definitely it can be right, but for the right brands.
Absolutely.
But that has to be then, it can't be just a product description in that case. It has to be, the whole marketing needs to have a similar voice.
Yeah, and actually this ties in nicely to the next question from Chris DeWitt, who asks, how do you feel about using humor to entice, obviously not for serious subjects, but when it's appropriate, how do you feel about using humor in copy?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I mean, you have to be a little bit careful because humor doesn't always translate internationally. But if you are sure about your target audience, then definitely it's nice. I mean, if you look at that Purple mattress website, they use humor really effectively. yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Let me see. So a few more people are asking if we'll be sending recording of this session. We will. That'll come through tomorrow. Let's see. Sam Wolfson is asking, what's the best approach to writing subject lines and pre-header text?
Yeah, subject lines and pre-header text, they need to be relatively short, or at least front-loaded. Front-loaded means is that you put the important words at the start, so people know instantly what it is about. So I would most of the time try to have copywriting or writing or blogging in the first few words within like 55 characters, 40 characters of my subject line. And then you try to connect with people's emotions. So if you're launching a product, you could, of course, there's excitement about new things. So you could use the phrase new or introducing. Works very well as well, or even announcing. If you share a blog post, you can use curiosity, like asking a question, or you can mention the benefit, works well, also for products. So yeah, make it emotional, connect to people, and keep it short, or at least have important bits at the front.
Fantastic. Now, I think we've got time for one more question. We've got an interesting one from Noah Hussein, and she asks, how would you write copy that targets a wide audience who have the same interests but are from quite different cultures? And she's referring to Western and Eastern. Noah's from Egypt, so yeah, how would you write copy that works for people in Egypt and the Middle East, and equally for people in maybe Western Europe and the States?
Yeah, that can be tricky, but if the people are struggling with the same problem, then that doesn't need to be a problem, because then they connect with that same problem. You just have to be careful that if you use examples or specific details, that indeed crosses borders. So you also have to be careful. Don't use slang. Maybe it sounds like you probably target non-native speakers as well, and it might be all in English. So keep your words relatively simple and your sentences relatively short. I mean, it's basically what I do on my blog as well, because I get people from all over the world reading my blog, and it works because they have the same aims. They all want to improve their writing. So yeah, it's not hugely different from writing for a local audience. You just need to be aware that, and it can be useful just to have some people in different locations who can check the copy for you and say, yeah, it works fine.
Yeah, and maybe that's the key, isn't it? It's just to get a second opinion once you've got the copy sorted, just to get someone to check it, because you know, there's all kinds of issues that you might not pick up. So yeah, a second opinion is definitely helpful. Right, I think
I
we
used to
better.
have that, with British and American English. Sometimes I use British English and I don't even realize that people in the States don't really get it. So yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely
Yeah,
useful. Yeah.
it's easily done, isn't it? Yeah, using little kind of idiosyncrasies of language and
Yeah.
phrases and expression that just doesn't travel. Right, well, we're running out of time, so I think we'll have to end there. But yeah, so sorry to everyone who's asked a question that we haven't managed to get to. Hopefully we'll get Henneke back for another session, because I think this one's been incredibly popular. So yeah, thank you so much, Henneke, for joining us and sharing all of this these great ideas with our audience. And to anyone who missed anything, we will be sending out a video tomorrow with links to download the slides. And obviously you can see on the screen right now, that's the URL to go to get Henneke's slides. So yeah, thank you, Henneke, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone for being here, and love to hear what you have to think about it. Connect with me on Twitter or ask some questions that we haven't answered yet.
Yes,
it was great to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Lee.
Well, thank you so much, Henneke. And if you're interested in improving your copywriting skills, Henneke has some online courses available and 2 ebooks, 2 Kindle books available for sale. So do head over to Henneke's website. Also, if you're interested in developing your copy skills, we run an annual copywriting conference. So if you just Google copywriting conference, you'll find our event, which is happening in October. So yeah, thank you again, everyone. And yeah, check out ProCopywriters on our website. If you go to the Learn page, you'll see other webinars that we have coming up. So yeah, we'll hopefully see you again soon.